Hello and welcome to the 18th part of our Dominion 6 guide for new players. In this part we're going to start our path of conquest against Bandar Log. So in the last part we had a little bit of a clash at White Peaks. We can see that we're currently suffering from a bit of attrition, and we also took our 2 independent commanders, which I didn't mean to do. Always keep a track of when you're sending commanders in, otherwise that will be wasted turns for you. If this was a bit more of a multiplayer game, a bit more cutthroat, that wouldn't have been very good at all. What we're going to do just now is we're going to get all of our kind of archers together. We want to try and get as many troops as we can just to be able to start marching on Bandar Log from the east part here, from Rot Marsh. Got a couple more archers there that seem to have fled. What we'll do is we'll send Boone down to Embion. We're going to send the rest of our guys, except for Pippin. We're going to send them all into Fenica, and then from there we're going to head over to Halbretha, and then probably over to Bithine. We can see that there is a bunch of units here in Bandar Log, a bunch of Tiger Riders. Those are the guys we need to watch out for, as well as the potential for a lot of troops to be about here as well. Looks like they're getting some reinforcements. I think we can still take this though with all of our troops. Let's have a little look at our formations. Let's not have Decimus in there. Unfortunately, we can't get him out, but that's absolutely fine. What we're going to do is going to get these guys to hold back. Get our swordsmen here to hold up the flank, or the center rather. And we'll get them to attack the closest guy. So we've set up all of our scripting for our various units. We have our fire orders. Haven't got our cavalry set up properly, so they're going to hold and attack the rear. We're actually going to move our infantry of ever so slightly just to make sure that our cavalry can pass them. And we'll probably put these mercenaries up front, just so they take a little bit more arrows. And we'll put them into a line formation like that. Great. Yep, that will work. So what will happen is we've got a bunch of mage support coming in. We'll make sure that we're also doing it on the correct people. There we are, so that'll do all of our infantry of Ulm. And then we've got a bunch of our mages who are going to be summoning earth power, getting iron skin, and then firing iron darts into the enemies. We did also finish construction 5, which is great. So we can have a little talk about the extra items that we can craft. There's not many of them that we can potentially use. An interesting one with these charcoal shields here, so this gives fire shield, so anytime someone tries to strike us, there's a chance that they take 9 armor piercing fire damage, which can be very good. One of your ways you can make it so that your commanders can stay alive. More importantly though, we can get these Helmet of Heroes. It gives inspirational +2, massively increases our morale for our troops being led by a commander. Earth boots here. This would mean that we'd actually be able to get our normal Master Smiths, who are Earth 2 up to Earth 3, so they can craft dwarven hammers. And I also really like these Girls of Might. Reinvigoration 3 and Strength +3 for, with a hammer, 1 Earth gem is fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our troops together. We're going to get Adelaide as well as these Priest Smiths all together. We're going to set up these guys as orders, like so. And we're going to give all of their troops to Adelaide. You can see here that these guys have a -1 morale. That's because of our Priest Smith's leadership. They only have leadership 20, so their squads automatically get a -1 to morale. We don't want that, so what we're going to do is we're going to set them up so that they're commanded by an actual good commander, which is Abelard. And we're going to make sure that he has all the troops. For these undisciplined guys, we're just going to chuck them in. They can just run forward and die. It's absolutely fine. And we'll get the rest of these crossbowmen so we can use them. Or sorry, sappers, so we can use them when we're trying to take over the castle. Probably in Bithine. We'll send these guys over to Strongdale. We're actually going to send Earthsneck as well, because we're going to want him to support our units. Let's see if he can cast any better spells as it stands. We could bring along a couple of lesser Earth Elementals. Might even cast some Earth Melds. Now, I'll tell you what, we'll get him to cast Soldiers of Steel just to try and help out our units a little bit, and then he'll charge in as well. We may also bring Clodomir. So Clodomir is here. Let's check his orders. We get him also buffing our troops, so we'll put him there. We'll make sure he's behind our troops. Where is he? I thought I told him to move. No, I didn't. There we go. That'll be why. So if we check Clodimir here, we'll make sure that he's over here by our infantry. He's going to make sure that they've got Soldiers of Steel, Gifts of Giant Strength, and he's going to Earth Meld a few times. If this enemy army comes in here, then we should be able to stop them. Otherwise, we'll have to see how we do. We've got a couple more Priestsmiths. They can't make it to Strongdale in one turn, so they're going to have to head to Elkland. And then other than that, we just have a bunch of our Master Smiths, which is absolutely fine. Let's start cycling through some of our commanders. So we've got some nature sites that we're checking here. Let's get him moving. I'm going to grab these crossbowmen. We're going to move them up towards Elkland. We've also got Hildegard's army here, so we're going to get them to start moving over to Elkland as well. And we're also doing some site searching for both nature and astral now, which is fantastic. And then we need to make sure that these guys are moving. So they're currently all moving into the Spring Spires. The question is, do I want to maybe take off pawns? I think pawns with a little bit of mage support. So if we take off 2 guys and send them over here, we can see that he has all of our range units actually. We may want to do some changes of how we're doing that. Yeah, so let's take off these guys from card. He now has 2 similarly sized units, and we have some infantry to hold the line when we come over to the Nidian range. So we have a lot of archers with a little bit of Priestsmith support, some infantry, and then a bunch of cavalry, light cavalry here, who we're going to get to hold and attack the rear. Currently, there's nobody here. I'm expecting that these guys will either come into Spring Spires or the Nidian range. We want to be able to catch them whichever way they go. These guys might stay where they are, or they might come into Strongdale. We'll just have to see what their movements are. As far as our intelligence goes, we have pretty much perfect intelligence everywhere around Bandar Log. We've managed to kind of prepare for this war quite a bit, which is good. Over here, Pippin, I'm going to get him to construct a lab as we're moving everybody forward. We're going to keep on searching for sites, and we'll get this spot. We'll probably get this scout to move here, and then we can get Gunderic to move into Bethine, and we'll get everybody else to wait. Shan's going to pick up the rest of these archers, and then he's going to move to Nicaea, where we can get more of these barbarians. Underneath the ground, we've got a lot of our mages. We're going to hand out quills to Amrod. I'm going to search with our nature mage. We've got a bunch more Bakemono. We've also got Podro here, who's going to start constructing a palisades over in the chambers underneath. What we'll do is we'll get our Woodhen Druid over there so he can build a lab and a temple, which he can do because he is a priest and a mage, so that's very useful. We're also going to want to send people over here to the Endless Caverns to site search when we get a second. So we've searched over here, great. Let's send Thorismund over to Sibbermark. And for our Yomi, we can bring them up at Yankeep, but let's maybe send them over to the Mudwater Caves so we can start infiltrating into Abyssia as best we can. And with that, that's all of our commanders. Excellent. Let's double check our recruitment everywhere. We want to make sure that we're recruiting all of our soldiers, as many as we can, except in the Moss Woods, obviously. In Gila, we've got quite a few troops there. Is it worth potentially getting another commander, or we can send them over with one of our Master Smiths? Potentially Amalric. We sent him over with these troops. He will be able to then support anybody else that we're bringing out from Eklund, and also have a bunch more troops for Hildegard. Hildegard's going to grab the rest of these guys here. They seem to have retreated from a previous battle. She's starting to get to the end of how many units that she can use, but that's absolutely fine. And other than that, let's make sure that we're still handing out our owl quills where we can to everybody. There we go. So we've handed out our owl quills. We've got a bunch of boots of long strides, which we will give to our priestsmiths just so they can start marching about a little bit faster. There we are. Get them to Forest of Gila. We also want to make sure that Adelaide here has one of these braces of protection. That will massively increase his protection. He shouldn't die anyway. He's our lucky Black Lord, but we just want to make sure that he's okay. We don't really have any thugs set up here for just now. So we don't have much recruitment points, but we could potentially start trying to thug out with a few Black Lords and some Black Knights, just start trying to take as much territory as we can. And make sure that we're recruiting everywhere. It's a shame this province doesn't have more recruitment points. As you can see, we're pumping out quite a few Hobart crossbows. We're probably gonna get a couple of these mounted commanders here, just because they can map move easier. They'll be able to move around a little bit easier than these normal commander guys. And let's just make sure that there's nobody else we can get. We'll get a couple more archers. Why not? Get a couple more of these lizard folk. We might as well spend the gold. Slingers, meh. Unless we're casting fire arrows, I don't really see the point of us getting slingers, which I don't think we're not really close to yet. We need to buff up our alteration a little bit in order to get there. Oh no, sorry, it's not alteration, it's enchantment. Yeah, flaming arrows, it's fire 3, so we need to have a fire gem on somebody in order to buff them to level 2 for our usual Master Smiths. Then cast summon Phoenix power. Then we need to have another additional 2 gems, so we can give them a gem to their fire 3, and then another gem to actually cast a spell. It's something to think about. It depends how many of these slingers we can actually recruit once. To be fair, we can recruit a lot of slingers. They won't hurt our troops. There we go. We're going back on what we said. And let's just get a bunch of Wolf Tribe archers just so we have additional units here. Nothing really we can recruit here. We're just recruiting a bunch of Deer Tribe over here because we can. It'll help the province defense a little bit. We'll maybe get 1 or 2 heavy cavalry, and I think that's about as much as we can hold. These guys have slings, right? Yeah, let's get a couple of these guys. They're going to be absolutely useless until we can cast flame arrows, but until then, should be fine. Let's just double check we can't give Earthsneck anything else. No, we can't. We've got a couple of hammers now. So we can try and have a little look over in Moss Woods. Anybody without a quill? Nope. Anybody here without a quill yet? Gunthammond. Let's give him a hammer. And we're going to get him to start making these girdles of might. So now that we have a bunch of our troops who are all ready to start creating magical items, now we can start up the Forges of Ulm in earnest, and we can start making a whole bunch of magical items that we can really use to start buffing up our commanders where we can. And with that, I think we're good to go for this turn. So we've set our... do it for here. We've set our scouts to retreat here on the borders. The reason we're doing that is purely just so they can try and run away if combat starts. They have a chance in order to get to our provinces here. If you have no friendly provinces about, there's absolutely no point in retreating. What will happen instead is your scout will just die. So probably best not to let that happen. The same thing would happen to our armies if we, say, got cut off and then attacked and our units retreated, then we'd lose the entire army as well as all the commanders if they don't retreat to a friendly province. So we'll have to keep that in mind. But with that, the drums of war have started. Let's see what happens. So we can see here there was a battle in the Nidian Range, our first battle of the campaign. We're fighting in the wastes. And we can see here that it's just what looks to be a little bit of province defense. We have massive amounts of crossbows, as well as these iron darts that are sailing in. Not the most accurate, but we've managed to almost immediately rout Bandar Log. That was fairly simple. We lost 1 crossbowman. I imagine this battle here in the Spring Spires will be more decisive. See here, there is actually a fairly large host of Bandar Log. They have their Tiger Riders ready to march into battle. We have our swordsmen here to meet the first charge, as well as our infantry of Ulm. And a bunch of buffing as well. They're firing quite a few arrows into us, but that's absolutely fine. The lines will clash here. We're going to start seeing these Tiger Riders absolutely decimating these swordsmen. But it's okay, they're just mercenaries, that's what we paid them to do. Meanwhile, our cavalry coming in. We've got a little bit of a clash going on between this Tiger Warrior, Tiger Rider, and our Knights. We did manage to kill the Rider, fantastic, but the Tiger will still keep on fighting. At least until it is killed. Okay, how are we doing? We've got a couple of Magma Bolts, so our guys are starting to go off script, and we're hitting our own troops. It's not great, but we are also hitting their Tiger Riders, that's the main thing. And our cavalry has managed to get an excellent flank in the back. They're going to have to deal with these little monkeys. They're going to be quite hard to kill, but we should be able to chew through a lot of their troops here. Seems they've broken on the front line as well, and we're starting to march forward. And we've still got our priestsmiths who are casting iron darts, still hurting our foes, and they have routed. Fairly successful battle for us, and we'll probably just kill all of these monkeys here, especially when we get our wraparound. Beautiful. Okay, that was a good battle. So we ended up losing, most of our losses seem to be swordsmen, and we ended up killing a lot of Bandar Log's forces there. That was nearly 300 they have. Admittedly, quite a few of that was Marcatas. So if we have a look at the Marcatas, they are armed with a club and sticks and stones. They have 5 strength, 5 hit points, and no protection. They do have impressive defense skill, but they're just not great. Admittedly, if you can buff them with fire arrows, they can also be quite funny. Unexpected event has happened in Summer Edge. We've got Berserker Pelt, bunch of unrest in the Shadowglade, not very nice. We lost some Dominion. We can finish our palisades and our castle. Excellent. So with that, we've got even more recruitment points for us to recruit even more of these crossbowmen. And that is as far as we can build this fort, at least until we get Adelaide up here in order to help. We're going to move our priestsmiths over to Elkland. We're going to move these guys over to Elkland as well. That's the official start to the campaign. We're actually going to move our Earthsneck, or the army on top of Earthsneck. We're going to move them into Wersen. And we're going to move this army here onto the Woods of Weeping. We can see here that there is some units around, and this larger army will move some of these priestsmiths into the Winds of Weeping as well, just so we have more mage support here. It's close to their capital, but we want to make sure that we have the rest of our forces heading to Barmy. We're moving up in Strongdale. We're moving into Warsham. I don't think Bandar Log was ready for such an attack. Admittedly, they are on easy AI, so you could probably guess that was the case. Let's make sure that we have all of our archers actually set up properly. So these guys are undisciplined. So all our undisciplined guys should be together. All of our archers are at the back. Let's set them up in a line formation just to make sure. Set these guys up in a line formation as well. This is a bit more of a ragtag army. This is kind of what we've had left from our expanding forces, as you can see. A lot of undisciplined troops, a lot of random troops. It's not really the army of Ulm it once was, but we have finished this fortification in the marsh. So we'll recruit a bunch of infantry of Ulm. We'll give it a quick site search as well. We'll make sure we're pushing up here too. And we could potentially start recruiting these lizard shamans, which might be better shout than our master smiths at the moment. Actually, with this scout, we're going to get him to build a fortress. We want to try and get our commander points up if we can. Get Shan to grab the rest of these barbarians, start moving over. We've got a bunch of archers over here. So let's just grab as much as we can with this Hobart commander and start moving to the west. Harbal will do the same. And we'll start moving as much as we can. Thorsman is moving as well. He's going to site search. And site search over here too. I don't think we really found any magical sites. Ooh, an astral mage. Fantastic. It's going to be very useful for us. So let's get out a few of our quills as well. We're building our palisade there. We didn't find anything here. We haven't nature site searched in Elkland yet, so let's do that. Also do that with our... We can't get there in one turn, so we'll move to Droigar with our Astral Mage. We've got our mounted commander here. So let's just double check to see where you can pick up troops from. So go to Shadowglade, Forest of Gila, come back up to Elkland. And we'll site search here as well. Boone is going to grab these archers, and then he's going to head to Halbreatha. Just some more ragtag troops, that's absolutely fine. And yeah, I think we're doing fairly well in the opening stages. We haven't received any Bandar Log counterattacks. I'm expecting some in either the Silver Woods or in Gatia, especially from these Elephant Riders. There doesn't seem they have that many of them. So we should, fingers crossed, be fine. We're going to start sending these Bakamono in so we can maybe start trying to take out some of the back lines. We'll tell our spy to hold and wait. And we're actually going to send Earthsneck up to the Spring Spires. He is currently without escort, However, he should still be okay. He has the magic in order to survive quite a lot, especially if he gets a couple of soldiers of steel on himself. I think he should be fine. And this is the Throne of Pestilence. So this gives Dominion plus Death +1. So that will be why Bandar Log's Dominion is so bad. They must have already been Death 3, so I am very scared about their god appearing, which they could do mid this year. I think it's about 3 years imprisoned, and pretenders usually are imprisoned for. When their god comes out, it's going to be quite a scary god. They're probably going to have high pass, they're going to have a much better bless, so we've got to try and get these guys now. That is the risk you take with an imprisoned pretender. You think, oh, perfect, I can do all these things once he's out. It takes a long time for him to come out. They've been stuck here. We've conquered the entire map and the underground. Not tooting our own horn too much, but it's just the truth. We're going to make sure that we're still moving up our guys here. We'll grab the rest of these undisciplined guys and we'll move them all to Elkland and we'll organise them into a proper fighting force soon. And that's just got another air random. Fantastic. For now, I think we've got enough owl quills for the moment. Let's see, we'll put a bunch of our map move boots onto these guys here, and let's see, they can now get the spring spires. Excellent. So now it will not just be Ursnek, he will also have some Priestsmith support. And we could potentially even move Audrey and these guys here over as well, just so we have a little bit more cavalry support too. Yeah, perfect. We'll do that. Tarbar doesn't have any troops to pick up. He'll go to the Oaklands and try and pick up some troops from there. And that should be fine. Let's get our scout to wait, and that is all of our units. And I believe all of our recruitment. Let's just go around and double check. Make sure that we're not forgetting anybody. We do have a lot of troops here, so we'll grab them on Enkborn and we'll grab them in Albrecht. And what we'll do is we'll send them through and start bringing their troops up to Elkland. If worst comes to worst, we finish off Bandar Log sooner rather than later, we can always come back down through Summer Edge and use that cave to cut off many turns of movement. The way that caves seem to work in the random map generators, they don't seem to one-to-one line up, which is fine, you know. Could be worse. Let's hand out a couple more of our owl quills, like so. We don't really have anybody moving out in particular that we care about too much, so let's give this Girdle of Might to Ricard. He will get an additional 3 invigoration, adding on 4 with summon earth power, so that's 7, so we'll be losing a total of 8 fatigue around. That's pretty good. If they take the time to bless themselves as well, which I just remembered we haven't done, they shouldn't need to actually. They'll be with the Earth Serpent, Earth Snake, our god, so they shouldn't need to. For one of these guys here, what we'll do is we'll get him to cast Blessing. Just purely to bless him and his fellow troops. Just so they can get that extra reinvigoration. It will really help push down the fatigue cost of their spells. Although Summon Earth Power will do most of the same. As for the rest of our guys, that's everybody doing something at least. We'll just double check our magic item treasury. We can't really give the braces of protection out to anybody useful. We will start ramping up our production of that shortly. We can potentially actually do that now if we give another hammer to Rodolad. And I kind of want to focus more on Girls of Might. Girls of Might are more useful for our spellcasters. That reinvigoration is really strong. It does surprise you how much it helps. As for Felden Force, we have a lot of troops. So we're actually going to cut this down and we're going to get Commander of Ulm. They're going to start ferrying troops down into the underground ready for our war with Abyssia. We can always keep them over here at the hole, at least for the time being. We'll get another Yomi. Not Yomi, sorry, Bakemono. I always make that mistake. But we'll get another one of them. We're currently building up our Troglodyte reserves, which we can use to conquer more into the caverns. In the Endless Caverns, we could get a bunch more Birthright Hunters, but I don't really care about them. I much prefer the Bakemonos, to be perfectly honest. And we'll get a few more infantry of Ulm. And with that, I believe all of our recruitment is done. Let's have a quick check of our research. We're currently researching toward Evocation level 4. As you can see, 427 research points per month. It is skyrocketing up. The more Master Smiths we have, the more Owl Quills we have, the more research we're getting per mage. The more mages we have, we should be able to beat them purely out of that. Even though we can't cast some of the better spells, late game spells, we have enough magical might just through sheer weight of numbers at the moment. So with that, we'll get a little bit of province defense over here, and we should definitely get some of the spring spires. Let's get a whole 15. We'll get an independent commander. I'm going to start trying to build a fortification here. It's a bit risky in that we're currently surrounded by enemy forces, but if we can get that up over the throne, then that'd be perfect. We'll use our snack to claim it, and then that's us 2 of the 3 thrones we need for victory. So we'll see how we do there. Right, let's end this turn. A messenger has arrived from Abyssia. We will burn your nation to the ground. So they have actually declared war on us as well. Interesting. So now we're in a 1v2 war. Fantastic. Let's see how we do. So, our druid found a magical site, an enchanted field. Fantastic. That's what we love to see. It doesn't seem we found any more magical sites, so there was a battle in Halbretha. This is our ragtag group, led by our prophet. We're going to come forward and we're just going to wipe this province defense. We'll take a few losses, but it's nothing we can't handle. Yeah, we lost a barbarian and a lizard warrior. I can deal with that. There was a battle in Rid, where we were actually attacked by Bandar Log. And here we have a fairly ragtag group of independent warriors. This will just be province defense, I imagine. Again, some of their Bandar warriors, light Bandar warriors, are big, strong apes, deal decent damage. Don't have the best stats, but deal decent enough damage. They'll be able to wipe the floor with these humans and kill our commander, even though his protection would help him, but he's run like a coward. That's fine, we've lost this province. It's a shame. There was a big battle in Barm. Let's have a little look at that. Here we go. Beautiful force. We're fighting off against some more Tiger Riders. This will be interesting. Hopefully our Infantry of Ulm will have the damage in order to just leave them in 2. They don't have anything that will really help the protection. And they just have their morale and +1 strength. These flagellants as well. Flagellants are interesting. They're humans. They're not particularly great, but they are quite cheap, especially if you're playing someone like Marignon. As you can see, without their full bless, we are starting to just tear through these Tiger Warriors. Or Tiger Riders, sorry. Absolutely dispatching them. Same with the flagellants. They don't have a defensive enough bless in order to stop us. And we are currently attacking their commander, and I believe we've just killed them. And then we're sending a bunch of magma bolts into these monkeys. It's going to hurt our own troops a little bit, but it could be worse. They've got 1 commander left. We are currently getting rid of the rest of their army, and the army losses have kicked in, and they have routed, and we killed the commander as well. Excellent. So in the Battle of Barbie, we lost 1 Black Knight and 14 Infantry of Ulm. So we did actually lose quite a few Infantry of Ulm. Looks like the majority of that was friendly fire as well. Ugh. Could be worse, could be worse. There was a battle in Warshin. There is a point at this point in the game when we're getting more of our mages up that you might want to recruit more of the Infantry of Ulm with the shields, just so they don't get killed quite as much by spells. Protection alone won't be enough to help. Over here, we're fighting against a very small province defense of Bandar Log. Yeah, very easy. Good stuff. We did lose 3 Infantry of Ulm and a Guardian, again to friendly fire, but it could be worse. And there was a battle in the Woods of Weeping, where we've moved up towards their capital. It's a bit of a smaller force, but this just looks like province defense again. I don't imagine that they will be able to defend against us. Crossbows are coming in. We have so many crossbowmen now that just from the amount of bolts being fired, we've managed to win the day. Fantastic. Yeah, that's done. And we didn't even take a losses. It did kind of look like we did, but never mind. There was an unexpected event. We got some fire gems and some blood slaves from the hole. And we've lost Fernardo's footmen, which is absolutely fine. We didn't really need them anyway. We've completed our castle in the Forest of Gila. There's a battle in the Brightwoods where they lost against a random event of some satyrs that have appeared in their camp circle. Poor guys, poor guys. So those elephants won't be coming to annoy us anymore. So we're in an interesting position now in that we are on turn 26. We are currently now at war with Abyssia, who haven't expanded much, but the fact that we are at war puts me a little bit at edge. We have a decent number of troops from Felden Forest that we can use to reinforce if need be, especially now that we're getting some commanders out in order to lead them. So we should be able to hold off, hopefully hold off any kind of advance that they do. We are fighting in their dominion though, so that will mean our morale is a little bit worse. we'll have to keep that in mind. Anyway, I just want to say thank you very much for watching this part. In the next part, we're going to continue our war with Bandar Log. We've had a very strong opening. We'll have to see if that continues into the future as we attempt to become the one true God. So yes, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care.